GoForThe2.com in with the Week 3 selections. Before I give the rapid-fire picks for this coming Saturday, I put out a video, Auburn and Kentucky. Check it out. I gave you the breakdown, also gave you the game prediction for that matchup. This coming Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you want all the top 25 action, breakdowns, and selections, tune into College Football Today. This coming weekend, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., sportsgrid.com, and now available in the tri-state area on MSG Network, MSG Plus, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. I'll be breaking down all the top 25 battles, give you some under-the-radar picks as well, give you some first-half selections, also give you my best bets for this coming weekend. So check it out, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, MSG Plus, sportsgrid.com. And then once the games kick off, I'll be in the chair for 5 straight hours, in-game live. I'll be talking about the in-game analysis, the sports wagering analysis, be talking about the line movement. I'll be breaking it down every step of the way for 5 straight hours. Some good 12 o'clock games. Georgia Tech and Syracuse, 1:30. We have TCU and Iowa State. So check it out. In-game live, MSG Plus, sportsgrid.com. And then College Football Today kicks it off at 10 a.m. Eastern. So check it out. Let's talk about the rapid-fire selections. Virginia Tech at home against NC State opened up as a 10-point favorite. It's now down to 6.5. A lot of line movement on NC State. A lot of people backing the Wolfpack after their dominating home performance over Wake Forest. They were 3-point favorites. They went to a dog by game time and did pick up the 4-point victory over the Demon Deacons in that matchup. Hockman did get the start over Devin Leary. Played well, completed 69% of his passes, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ricky Person, the running backs, played very well, rushed for 99 yards in that battle, and I was very impressed with the defensive front seven for Doran and the crew. They only allowed 138 rushing yards to Wake Forest in that battle, even though Walker, the running back, did get some yards in the third and fourth quarter. That was still a solid effort from the 3-3-5 defense that NC State put out there. So does it continue in week number 2? I said it at the start of the year when I broke down my preview. Even when we're using Atlantic and Coastal divisions, I thought Virginia Tech was the best team in the Coastal. I also thought that they were the second best team behind Clemson. Now, I know Farley, their big play cornerback, opted out for this season. To me, it doesn't matter. They still have 8 starters coming back on defense. You look at that defensive front, Deshaun Crawford, Justice Reed are solid at the point of attack, solid defensive linemen. You look at just that linebacker core for Virginia Tech. You have Holyfield, you have Connor, you have Ashby. I mean, they can run sideline to sideline. They also get the benefit of Illinois State cornerback Devin Taylor that transfers over to add depth as a nickelback or a backup corner to that secondary. And I think that's the matchup going up against still a rather inexperienced quarterback in Hockman in this battle. When you look at Virginia Tech's offense, I think that's the key as well. You look at their quarterback, Hendon Hooker. He completed over 60% of his passes, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's a mobile quarterback, became confident. He was 6-2 as a starter, only threw 2 interceptions in the loss to Virginia at the end of the year. But he's playing behind a very physical, heavy offensive line in Virginia Tech that averages 315 pounds per man. And I think that's the matchup going up against a rather small defensive front in NC State. You look at NC State, you look at just their defensive ends. 260, 280, nose tackle is 320, but if Virginia Tech can get a push and beat them at the point of attack, there can be some running lanes for the Virginia Tech rushing attack, and I think that's the matchup to see play out. Keep your eye out for Raheem Blackshear, the former Rutgers running back / slot back. He can be utilized in third down situations. He's explosive, has very good top-end speed, can catch the football out of the backfield, and look for Justin Fuente to utilize him in multiple looks in the passing games. I think that's a matchup that you have to be concerned about if you're NC State. On top of that, Trey Turner, leading wide receiver, I expect him to step up in this ball game, and I do feel that Virginia Tech dominates this ball game from start to finish. Feel that they get a 14-point win at home against NC State. Let's talk about a game in the Big 12. You talk about Texas on the road to face Texas Tech. Texas has won 3 of the last 4 in this matchup by 13.3 points per game and dominated this matchup by 25 points at home in Austin last year, last game of the regular season, 49-24. You look at Sam Ehlinger, a big dominating performance over UTEP, completed 75% of his passes, 426 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, got 2 big play efforts from his wide receivers, Joshua Moore, 6 receptions, 127 yards, Tariq Black, 5 receptions, 80 yards, both stretching UTEP's defense over the top. Ingram, the running back, a light day, only 44 rushing yards on the afternoon. Now they face a team in Texas Tech that looked terrible week number 1 as a 40-point favorite, Houston Baptist. They came out flat. They were pushed to the limit and almost lost that matchup 35-33. But this is still a dangerous Texas Tech team. I said it in my preview. If you picked it up, outside of Iowa State, Texas Tech, I thought, was a sleeping giant within the Big 12. Now, I know Iowa State lost to UL Lafayette, but we're talking Big 12 conference. So Texas Tech, to me, has the pieces in place to really make some noise. You look at this team last year in Big 12 play, they lost 7 games by an average margin of defeat of 12.1 points per game, lost 5 of those 7 games by 7 points or less. They were in every ball game from start to finish. They have a veteran quarterback in Alan Bowman. He came on in week 1, completed 73% of his passes, over 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Their running back, Sir Roderick Thompson, arrested this weekend for street racing. He will play in this ball game. He could also catch the football out of the backfield, so keep an eye out for that. From a wide receiver perspective, TJ Vasher is a dominant wide receiver. He's tall, he's lanky, catches the football at its highest point. But it's not so much the Texas Tech offense that I've been impressed with. I think it's the linebacker play, and I think that's something that you have to keep an eye out on. Colin Schooner comes over for Arizona. That he's an athletic linebacker that can run sideline to sideline. Texas Tech has the type of defensive playmakers to really contain Sam Ehlinger. I expect them to spy him. I think Texas wins this ball game, but they limit big plays in terms of Texas Tech, force Ehlinger and that offense to work down the field, and I expect the Red Raiders to get theirs with fans or without fans. It doesn't matter. Lubbock is a very difficult place to play. Texas Tech is in this ball game from start to finish. I think the Longhorns do pick up a 7-point win over the Red Raiders Saturday night. Another battle takes place in the Big 12 between Brock Purdy and TCU. You look at this matchup, Brock Purdy dominated week 1 against UL Lafayette. They gave up, Iowa State did 2 punt returns for a touchdown. You're talking about a team that really, in terms of an emotional letdown, week 1 as an 11-point favorite, just got blown out at home in Ames. They now go on the road to start conference play against a team in TCU that has won 5 of the last 7 in the series. But Iowa State is a team that did dominate this battle last year, 49-24. Same score that Texas beat Texas Tech last year. They dominated this matchup. Brock Purdy did throw for over 300 yards. He completed over 78% of his passes in that victory to TCU. Now, this is a TCU team. Max Duggan, the quarterback, was cleared to play, but will not start in this battle. Matthew Downing does get the start. They also get two big transfers, TCU does, in J.D. Spielman, the wide receiver from Nebraska, and Marcel Brooks, the linebacker for LSU. But there's still inexperience on the offense and defensive lines, and that's why I favor Iowa State here. Breece Hall did have a solid day week 1, but Iowa State last year as well rushed for 189 yards on that TCU defense, and I think that's the matchup. I know the offensive line was not good for Iowa State, but with the extra week of preparation, the better quarterback, clearly the better quarterback in Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was the 5th best quarterback in college football last year in FBS, averaging 318 passing yards per game. He has Charlie Kohler, the tight end, Tariq Milton. I think that's the difference. I know TCU on paper looks great, but this is still a team in Gary Patterson since 2016, 18-19 in Big 12 play, straight up. Iowa State has the better head coach, in my opinion, and the better quarterback. They dominate by 10 points or more on the road against TCU. Another ACC battle. Duke takes on Virginia. Virginia, when you just look at the series, has won 5 straight over the Blue Devils by an average margin of victory of 19.2 points per game. Picked up this victory last year, 48-14. It was the Bryce Perkins show. He dominated through the air, dominated on the ground. But we talked about it. If you watch college football today, I talked about the Austin Peay Cincinnati game. And something came up in terms of preparation. We all talk about having one game under your belt versus no games. Well, Austin Peay had 2 games prior to them playing Cincinnati. They wound up covering that matchup. Duke has 2 games under their belt versus Virginia, and I think that's the matchup that I'm looking. I think they'll be prepared in this ball game, but I think that's what plays out in this battle for more than just one factor. Let's look at the coaching aspect. You look at David Cutcliffe. He's a solid game planner, has his teams prepared. You look at Bronco Mendenhall, a blue-collar coach, coaches up the physicality on the offensive lines. But if you look at Bryce Perkins in the Virginia offense last year, he really catapulted that offense. He was the team's leading rusher, rushed for over 700 yards and 11 touchdowns. He threw for over 2,500 yards. He was an athletic quarterback. Brennan Armstrong takes over. He's a lefty, has mobility, but he's new in the system, doesn't have a legitimate running game. This is still an offense in Virginia that only averaged 131 rushing yards per game, that put them into critical third down and long situations and put a lot of pressure on their offensive line. And I think that's the matchup going up against Duke's athletic front. Now, Duke allowed 178 rushing yards to Notre Dame. They came back with a very good effort last week in the loss to Boston College. They allowed 84 rushing yards and were beaten over the top of their secondary with Zay Flowers. I don't know if Virginia has the type of offensive weapons to challenge Duke deep in week number 1. Joe Reed has moved on. Bryce Perkins has moved on. Brennan Armstrong is an inexperienced quarterback. There's not a rushing attack for Virginia. Duke has 2 games under their belt and a veteran quarterback in Chase Bryce. Chase Bryce has completed 54% of his passes, 476 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But he could be into this ballgame. This is his 3rd game now in the scheme. I expect a better effort, and I expect Duke to challenge Virginia in this ballgame. You want to see an NFL-ready player, though, tune into linebacker Charles Snowden for Virginia. He's a dominant defensive player. I'm telling you, 6'5", 6'6", big wingspan. Check him out for Virginia in this battle. But I do feel Duke is a 5.5-point underdog, gets the outright victory over Bronco Mendenhall and the crew this coming Saturday afternoon. Last battle is the SEC. It's Tennessee on the road to face South Carolina. South Carolina has won 3 of the last 4 in the series by 4 points per game. Last year, Tennessee dominated the Gamecocks in the fourth quarter, won that matchup by 20-plus points. This game comes down to 2 factors. 1, Tennessee can ill afford to start slow. I think they have the better quarterback in Garantano over Colin Hill. Secondly, I like their rushing attack. I like Eric Gray. I like the physicality of the offensive line. There's a new scheme with Mike Bobo in South Carolina. Will Muschamp at home, never in a big spot. Do I like him in that type of atmosphere? I just think it comes down to this. Tennessee's trending upwards. South Carolina is in flux, and they're regressing under Will Muschamp. I give the inside edge to Tennessee, but I'll be breaking this game down deeper on Saturday, College Football Today. So if you want the full game analysis, tune in. Those are the rapid fire selections. I'll see you this Saturday on MSG Plus, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.